New shadowing slow version. It's additional 8 weeks paid parental leave that we can act here, and of course encouraging for that to be split in family where there's two carers. How significant is that change? Look, it's really significant. So at the moment, Australian families have got access to the second least adequate paid parental leave scheme in the OECD. So America is the only country right now with the less adequate scheme when we have. For 11 years, paid parental leave has not been changed in any meaningful way. Today's announcement is long overdue and it's incredibly welcome because an additional 8 weeks of paid leave, the difference that will make in the lives of children, but also parents, is so significant that we are having a discussion about how it will be spread and shared, and we will be talking about affected, encouraging that to take extended parental leave as the norm. There's also really significant programs. So when you talk about difference that will make for families, what are the sort of things that this will now allow families to be able to do when they're looking at it's essentially 6 months of paid parental leave. So those crucial first 6 months in a child's life. Yeah, so paid leave is incredibly influential and important policy. It's one of the only levers that any government has to influence the caring patterns that are set inside home. That what we know globally is that the caring pattern that is set in the first year of child's life persists over the course of their lives. So when you have a situation like we have in Australia, where despite the fact that lots of mom and dad approach family life wanting to be equally characters or to share it equitably, they confront a system that actually put them on a path where the expectation is still very much that moms will become primary caregivers and dads will be remain and become primary breadwinners. That does actually match the reality in families. It does match the cost of living. It does match the fact that in lots of instances families do want to share care equitably, but our policy doesn't enable that. And that's why at the moment that in Australia takes at least than 20% of parental leave that does take globally. And that's not because that Australia doesn't want to engage in caregiving in their critical first year of life. So we know that the benefits in terms of child's development and health are huge when they got parents that are supported to stay at home and care for them in those early months and year. It's also likely to have an impact, I imagine, as well on perennial issue of the gender pay gap. What sort of impacts are you anticipate that this policy could have there? So it changed the paid parental leave, particularly when in making it more expensive but more equivalent. So when you change it, so you ask that leaves encouraging this taking. That does represent structural reform because it's actually make a difference in the way that both parents are able to not just care at home, but how they are participants in the paid workforce. So what we know around the world is when moms and dads share the care more equitably, their participation in paid work stay more consistent over the course of their lives. So right now, moms and dads or men and women in Australia until the age they have the children have got really similar working patterns. But what happens when a baby comes along is then the mom's working hours and income drops really significantly. So modeling out for research this week show that for at least 5 years, mom's earning dropped by 50%. Now, in other countries around the world, where dads are supposed to care and participate in paid work, that's what they do. So, consistent attachments to paid work stay more steady than it does right now. So, but it is worth saying that the purpose of this table right now, they definitely state they wanted to look at how to encourage moms and dads to split the paid parent leave, but it is going to be referred to task force, the gender equality task force that Sam mostly chairing, to look at how this can be designed to maximize how parents share the care. It must be also really critical when you're talking about having more than one child as well. For women, there are 3 couples years that start to rack up when you don't have those sort of structure policies in place. So what you do as see as the framework in which we allow this policy to be supported by other approaches, including, of course, there has been focus on child care. When you're obviously getting children a really bit older, and as in family progress, when children such as childhood age can those sort of factors, what do you see as being part of that framework? Yeah, so look at the parenthood. We publishes a significant piece of research at beginning of 2021 looking at what policy would make Australia a world leading country to be a parents and raise children. And the first policy that we're despite as being critical is having a world leading paid parent leave scheme. For all of the regions, we've got to discuss the health, social, economic benefits of this paper leave scheme or control over it. But the next piece of the puzzle, which is absolutely critical for both children and families, is having access to quality early childhood education care, and that's delivered by properly paid and well-supported work. These two policies can be described as sort of infrastructure. They are in fact the roads and bridges parents need to be able to walk between home and work. And at the moment, parents and families are left to build their own highway, in fact, because we don't have adequate paid leave, we don't have access to quality affordable early childhood education and care. So families are left to scrambling building their own infrastructure. But we don't expect bankers who work in a city to design and implement their own rail system we don't expect to build multi-level car parks so they've got parking. We provide that public infrastructure so people can do work. What we need to do in Australia is invest in infrastructure that enables parents, both men and women, to move between work and the home. And these announcements, paper parental leave, in combination with the commitment from the federal Labor government to make early childhood education and care significantly more affordable for families, represents a really significant investment in the infrastructure. It's a recognition that is it lacking, that we need to actually put money and time and energy into ensuring family and children have the opportunity to thrive. And right now we're not delivering on that. That is advocates and experts that have campaigned around this for decades, and it is so incredibly heartening to see tangible commitments on the table to address these issues. Judge Dan, it gives direction of parents. We thank you so much for speaking with us about critical issue this morning. Thank you.